Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Pitstop Fracas. I'm your host Richard, and we're here today to do part two of three of our season preview for 2023. And they're here to review none other than Aston Martin, Alpine, and McLaren. Here to help us review these three teams is none other than Kwame. How we doing, brother?
I'm good, brother, man. Hey, last week I was just you green stock. This week we just Alpine high stock. I'm gonna be ashamed and biased today, man. I actually don't care, man. But hey, we're here for fun, man. We're here for the fun ride of this 2023 season is gonna be in it, man. So stay tuned in it.
What are you saying? One day you're Christian, next day you're Muslim, yeah? I hear this stuff.
Hey, I was back in my main driver, and I'm back in my main team. Something like that.
Not even the same engine like supplier.
Nah.
Hey, the most blue.
Stop to know.
Yeah, we'll some
Both start
shade
A,
of blues.
both start let A. Come on, man. You know what time it is.
Yes, mad. Okay, we're also joined by Rafa, sporting the very nice Aston Martin top. Rafa, how are we doing today, brother?
I'm good. I'm AM's ambassador. Telling you, if you use the code Rafa Ismo, you can get these tops half price. No, I'm joking. You can't. Anyway, we're good. Hey, listen. My team's got to hit the cost cap, innit? You see, Stroll's money is not lasting forever. You need to sell these tops, innit? But anyway, man, I'm good, man. It's good to be here. It's good to roll on the season, man. I'm ready.
Yeah, definitely. And last but not least, we're here joined by Laurence. Laurence, how are we doing today, brother? I'm liking your Golf McLaren jumper, bro. So I'm feeling
Christmas present from the other half. So she knows her stuff.
She knows wheel.
All I can say is I'm glad I ain't got to talk about Liverpool. I ain't got to hear about them. I'd rather talk about McLaren because, bro.
Yeah, I don't know them ones still.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, them and meaty too.
I'd rather talk about McLaren all night as opposed to that.
It's one big mid off between everyone here when it comes to football, boy.
Bro,
can't even dunk on each other still. Spooky. Yeah, it's real spooky.
I need you champions of your country. You're not.
Yeah, let's get into F1. Let's keep it on F1. So, let's start off first with McLaren. So, McLaren last year, they finished, from right saying, fifth in the constructors. They missed out on fourth in there because Danny Rick was doing up a Calabunga dude, shrimp on the Barbie, all that razzmatazz last season. So they switched out one Aussie for another in Oscar Piastri, very highly rated youngster. So, I'm sure there's big expectations of them this season, especially since Andre Sarda's also moved to Audi/Alfa Romeo Sauber. So, and he brought in Andrea Stella Artois. So, Laurence, what is your season expectations for McLaren?
I think it's quite clear. So, I mean, my expectations are whenever there's any podiums lying around, so any of the top 3 teams, top 6 drivers, if they have a DNF or an incident, lap 1, turn 1, something like that, they're there to pick up the pieces. A couple podiums, and I would say for Lando probably to put it front row, second row on one occasion. Whether that's realistic or not, I'm not sure. Given that it was a bit of a horror show at the start of last season, obviously with no breaks at the start. But that's where I'd say that they need to be. But I think in a way that they've kind of brought themselves a bit of time. Obviously bringing Piastri in, it kind of gives them a chance to reset, so they can use this year as another transition year. But I think, to be honest, they've got to be sweeping up a couple of podiums at least. Like they got one last year. Obviously, Lando did very well to get that, but I think really, I'd say 3, 4, 5 podiums. That's probably where I'd put them.
So still on mute. Okay. So what about driver lineup? So how do you think Oscar's going to fare against Norris? And what sort of expectations do you have of him compared to, let's say, Norris? Like, do you expect him to beat Norris? Do you think it'll be shameful if he does get beat by Norris, even by just a little bit? Like, What? Because we obviously have not seen Piastri in F1. We had only gone off his junior career, and if gone off his junior career, he looks like a very promising driver. But we don't know until he steps into that car, especially with all the messing about with, ironically, Alpine and trying to get him and blah blah blah. So, what is
Yeah.
your realistic sort of expectations on Piastri and how you expect him to fare?
Well, obviously better than the guy that just got kicked out of the team. I think that's it's not that difficult actually to do that, to be fair. But I think if you look at Lando from when he joined 2019, obviously he had a similar junior career to Piastri, so that's where I'd kind of put it. So I'd give him 6-7 races to kind of get up to speed, be within a couple of tenths. I wouldn't expect him to at all in any race kind of outright have more pace than Lando. But I think if he's in a couple of attempts of him picking up points when Lando doesn't, then I would say that would be fine. I think McLaren would see that as success. Yeah, you only had to look at obviously last year. It was a one-man band. Danny Rick was there feeling sorry for himself. Lando was out there fighting for his life against Alpine, and obviously if Danny Rick was even half as good as he used to be, they would have comfortably got 4th place. So I don't think they can afford that again this year, because obviously you might have Aston Martin join the party as well. So I think for Piastri, I'd want consistent points finishes, but the latter half of the points, so your 7th, 8th, 9th, whereas I'd want Lando to be consistently 6th, 7th, and then with a few podiums in there.
Cool. Right. And last but not least, gotta remember my question now. What was your opinions on them last season, basically? So do you feel they massively underperformed? Do you feel like they could have done better? And yeah, basically. And also, what is your predictions for them in the constructors this year? Because of course they kind of disappointed last year getting 5th. They maybe it with a competent line could have got 4th.
Yeah.
Season before they finished 3rd. I can't remember. Did they finish 3rd?
4th. They got pipped by a Ferrari at the end, didn't they? They got 3rd the year before that.
They should have got.
Yeah, they should have finished,
but got 4th because of a certain Aussie.
Because of
Yeah. So that's millions and millions of pounds that have basically Danny Rick has cost the McLaren just in positional sense, and also paying off his contract.
Wages.
So it was just So you're talking maybe like, I don't know, 50. I don't even know what the money difference is.
I think it's 12.
3rd and 4th and 5th.
Yeah, I think it's 4 to 5 mil per position, something like that. But I think they underachieved, obviously, I think straight away. But if you look at the car, I remember Bahrain had no brakes. Literally, the car had no brakes for 3 races. You had Danny Rick sitting there feeling sorry for himself. You can't have a car which doesn't work. Obviously, Lando pulled off a podium at Imola, but that was one of those drives where the driver is way past, the ability of the car. And I think, if anything, McLaren have underachieved last 2 years. To be honest, when they finished 3rd, what was that, 2020? They were picking up the podiums here and there. Even obviously 2021 as well. To be honest, they've wasted 2 years. They've wasted a new regulation change. I thought the idea was that obviously the regulation change would bring them a step closer with a view of 2023, 2024 being when they can win the races. They're nowhere near that. It's obviously not going to happen. But they've got a more consistent driver lineup now, which hopefully, obviously with direct, where they can send the car, hopefully next season is where I'd expect them to even be within a second of winning a race. But it kind of works out for them. So getting a new driver in, obviously what happened with Danny Rick kind of buys them a year or two. So they can say, 2026 is when we'll challenge for the constructors. But you said it would be 2024 3 years ago. So This season, there shouldn't be much patience. I think Lando's now in a position where he is ready to drive the team forward quite drastically, like some other drivers have. He's been here long enough. He's got podiums. He's got pole position. It's time now. If he can drag that car probably further than where it should be, then next year, that's when I'd expect something more serious. Because as we know, Aston Martin won't be sitting around for much longer. Alpine, obviously, well, I don't really know. They've got a bit of a mixed bag. Depends on how their engine survives. But McLaren, I think they've got a year at most until time's up.
Cool. I'm going to open the floor up here to Kwame. Kwame, would it so? Of course, Piastri was on your books, and then Rafa infamously, kicked up a fuss and started to head to McLaren. Just to stay on McLaren, do you think it'll be much concern if Piastri was to beat Norris over the season? Or do you think it's a win-win either way?
I think it's a win-win for McLaren. It's pretty smart what they've done. They've gone for the best rookie they could have got, the next up-and-coming guy in the market. Him in F4, F3, F2 back-to-back does show his ability, especially in decent Formula, lower Formula categories. And I feel like they've put themselves in a position where if Norris ever does get pinched by, let's say, Red Bull or Mercedes, they've got Oscar Piastri there. I feel like Zach Brown has done he's been very smart in the fact that he's also, in case if Norris does get pinched, Piastri can then be shown to be that number one driver for McLaren. And also he's got the IndyCar drivers there in the background. I also feel like with the way the driving market's going, for the meantime, I don't see Piastri going to any other place either. So I feel like they've got a young driver there for a good couple of years. They can kind of create their own unit. So, but Alpine's loss definitely is McLaren's game. I've calmed down now since, and I've been a bit more logically minded by it. And it's a good move. They saw the young driver at the time. He didn't have a seat. They're like, bring him in, be our test driver. And they kind of groomed him in as you do to a young buck. And he's now what I'm doing. So yeah, it's a good move.
Well, so you're not bitter, no?
Nah. Calm down, man.
Interesting.
I can't be shaming him, man. No more.
He's going to change his mind. Watch after a couple of races when we see them cooking at Alpine.
No.
You know what's gonna come.
Nah,
Under surveillance calls.
The mistake was on our side, didn't it? Like I feel like Otmar and Rossi have got a lot to blame for themselves. Like the management and Alpine, the politics. I'll get into it on our side, isn't it? But big boys for that move.
You're going to be watching Piastri cook while engines cook. That's what's going to be happening.
Hey, don't worry about the engines, man.
Yeah, that's what's going to be happening for Gas Mark 6 engines. That's what your engines are, bro. They're going to be just cooking. Not in a good way as well. I'm talking about on fire. Don't worry. We'll come to you.
Yeah, definitely. Rafa, do you have any thoughts and opinions on McLaren going into the new season? Do you think they'll do well? Do you think they'll disappoint again? And yeah, just any thoughts in general, really.
I don't know. See with McLaren, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? I think they did on form last year. Listen, they're a bit of a one-man team, innit? And Lando, I don't like his fans. Let me just say that now out there. No, I don't like his fans, but I have to rate him as a driver. Like last year he showed he is that guy. He's got that grinter about him. When things get tough, he gets going in it. So I have to rate him. Going into this season, I think it'll be a bit more of the same, innit? I think the car will be good in some spots, won't be great in others. But Lando will be that level of consistency where, we'll be getting them, 6-7 positions, around about that place. And Piastri, I think he'll do well. But yeah, I think he'll be a little behind Lando, expectedly anyway. So yeah, McLaren a bit of a weird one, isn't it? I think it's going to be up and down for them this season. I think it's going to be much more like last season, up and down. Start terribly, maybe sort some stuff out during the middle of the season with upgrades. And then we'll see. It's gonna be a bit. I'm not worried about them. Let me just say that I'm not too worried about them. I'm only worried about Lando. That's just what I'm mad about.
Yeah, I think the main issue with McLaren is how good Oscar be out of the bat, because I'm seeing a lot of even man gas up Oscar online and on social especially, but this guy can't shave him F2. We've seen so many drivers in the past. We've seen one of their own, even Van Dorn, who's meant to be the next big thing. It didn't work for him with Alonso. Yeah, I'm not comparing him to Piastri, but we've seen drivers like Hamilton come out and cook. So listen, it could go one way or the other with Piastri, in my opinion, and because he's rookie, we haven't got everything to judge. So if Piastri is on the same level as Norris, McLaren will cook. If Piastri is worse than Ricardo, remember Ricardo's McLaren, he flopped in it, but man's not really a bum per se in it. You know what I'm saying? Like Red Bull, he's doing his thing. Renault did his thing. Just that McLaren, they work out from the way the car was built, completely different to his driving style. So my thing is, it all depends on Piastri. And I don't put pressure on the kid in it, because I'm not putting pressure on the kid, but I feel like if he's even half, 3/4 level of Norris, McLaren will cook. But if he's Ricardo level or below, it's gonna be 5th, 6th place again for them. So it all depends on Piastri, man. And
They can't afford it. They can't afford another
they can't find one. I know.
another B driver.
Listen, and it's not just the drivers as well. Look, and you basically changed gaffers, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, that's a bit. Seidel, I think Seidel's a shrewd guy, and I thought he's a smart guy.
I think it's a bigger loss than people are.
Yeah, I think it's a big.
I don't think people have actually deeped how big that will be. Like, this is the guy obviously with Zach who, has taken McLaren from a joke, obviously, to actually be in a team that could compete. Obviously, 2 seasons ago, to lose him to obviously Audi long term.
It's a bit of a stinker, isn't it?
That's quite concerning. I think long term as well. If you look obviously this year, but future wise, if he really had faith in the project long term, he wouldn't have left. Even if he's got CEO role now, but if the project was looking tasty for the future, why would you leave that? So you built it up and then you've left. So that concerns me, because obviously for Piastri as well, there's not much direction there now for him in terms of Seidel. I think gave the team a really strong, clear identity, and now it's gone. So that does concern me a little bit. But you never know. I mean, they've come back from worse, to be fair, McLaren. So I have the faith.
Yeah, keeping the faith, yeah. I hear that still. I hear that. So, okay, let's move on to the next team, and that is Aston Martin. Now, Rafa, of course, you're a massive Alonso stan. Been rocking with him since his Minardi days and whatnot.
Come
Do you understand?
Come on.
So of course he's in his 20th season, whatever it is now in F1, which is pretty remarkable in terms of longevity. So of course when he moved to Aston, it was a big, massive shock. Like, no one expected it. Not even Alpine themselves. Apparently Alonso was out in Greece, toes out, sipping pina colada, whatever. Going on do not disturb. And you got Alpine belling him. Like, yo, like, what's all this about? Because they only found out on social media themselves, fair enough. And Alonso was just like, I ain't answered you niggas. I ain't answered you lot. You know what I'm saying?
Then was when you pull the sickie and your man just calling, you're not picking it up. No way.
You let it, you watch it ring, and then you're just like, I'm not answering that shit. Yeah. So of course he's now moved to Aston Martin on I think it's a 2+1 deal to replace the advertised Sebastian Vettel. So what is your expectations for Aston Martin for this coming season? Because as we know, they started out in the first half of the season quite poorly, to be fair. And people trying to mask them as the worst team on the grid, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But second half, after some break, they started cooking. At times they even competed a bit with Alpine and McLaren a little bit, pace-wise. So what is your now expectations going in for Aston Martin? And how far do you think Alonso can take this team?
I think this year it's about transitioning from the lower half of the midfield to now arguing with the top half of the midfield. That's where we're looking. we're looking to argue with McLaren, argue with Alpine, even though the engines are a bit meaty, we'll still argue with them in it. But anyway, like I think this year there's been a lot of hype. People talking about trying to argue with the top three. I think that's way out of bounds. I think you know getting them P6s, P7s regularly for Aston Martin is what we want. And also last year, even the second half, even though the race pace was good, the quality pace wasn't there. And that's one thing that Aston Martin need to work on. The quality pace was a big problem. And even the strategies in quality was a big problem. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, them back end of the top 10 points regularly. If Stroll can do his piece as well, then that would be great as well. And I think you know what Alonso does, isn't it? What a machinery is in. That guy is going to drag that to the highest possible position. And even at the age of 41, 40, yes, we've got a recruit in it. See, he knows. Even at the age of 41, he's one of the best drivers in the grid. We saw that last year, the great drives, second place in qualifying, Canada, the Brazil GP, comeback, US GP comeback. The guy still brings out classics at this age. So we're expecting a solid position in the midfield, maybe even finishing fourth in the constructors. And yeah, Alonso just doing his thing. And Stroll staying out of his way in it. Stay out of the way.
I mean, yeah, that's the key thing. Will Stroll stay out of his way? Because, he definitely didn't stay out of his way in Kota. And if that incident didn't happen, then, Aston would have probably finished sixth in the constructors as well. And that would have been apparently another 12 million. But, don't worry, Daddy's money can cover that. So we're aware of that still.
We'll take the CFD time, innit? Don't worry, we'll take that. We'll take the CFD time.
It's a big brain moment. That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's the big brain moment. More win time, not more money. We already got money. We ain't no brokies.
Exactly. We're not McLaren, innit? McLaren out here on the streets begging for peace. We're not that. We got class, innit?
Yeah. Trying to play for CFD parts of like Klarna. Nah, he's on that farm. Sticky one still.
Bro, we're raising money through fucking Lando streams and stuff. And it's merch.
You man got debt collectors outside your factory working.
The bailiffs are trying to get in.
Yeah, like pay now. Man's got summons from. That's crazy.
No wonder Saddle dipped. He said,
Exactly.
"Fuck that." Ruin my credit score. Shit. Yeah. So okay. So in terms of the driver lineup, then, so of course there's a bit of, how to put it, a quality disparity between the two. So if we're under the assumption that Alonso maybe beats Stroll, so I guarantee he did get beat by Ocon, regardless of context or not.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be a cause for concern if that was to happen for 2 seasons in a row? If Stroll was to beat Alonso over a season, or could that be the case of, okay, it's a great car, Stroll's got the most out of it, he stepped up a bit, Alonso maybe unlucky with X, Y, and Z, whatever. So what's your thoughts on
Yeah, I think everyone's waiting for Alonso to fall off the cliff. They're waiting for him to slow down. It'll be, of course, concern if he does beat him on an outright pace. That's sort of be like, yo, Nano needs to step up, or maybe time to put down the gloves and chill in Mallorca or something like. But I don't see that happening until the season. I think last season we all know why Alonso finished by knock on. The guy had a car that didn't have an engine for most of the race. And okay, Ocon had his DNFs too, but when you're having like problems, literally, I think he had problems like 18 of the 23 races or something crazy like that, which is crazy. Like, he might not DNF, but you definitely have a problem. So, as long as you give him a reliable car, I think Alonso beats Stroll. But again, if Stroll does something, if he finds that pace, credits to Stroll, man. He's doing his thing. He's finally, he's not a paid driver anymore. We'll see. I want Stroll to do well, of course, but I don't see him being Alonso. I just think that's far-fetched, because Ocon is actually a good driver. Like I have rated him for a minute, even when he was at the racing point with the pink Force Indias and that. He was doing his thing, innit? So I did kind of rate him. But Stroll, if he beats him, that's it's just not looking good. But it won't happen.
Okay, let's watch the space.
Nah, it won't happen.
So,
won't
in terms of, hey, know what I mean, F1's a funny place, bro. You get me? So,
Trust me.
but in terms of Aston Martin, just to stay on them, going into the upcoming season, what do you think if they were to stay on this current trajectory that they're on, and maybe even get better? What do you think is realistically the highest place constructors-wise they could get, and what would be the lowest to you that would be deemed acceptable?
Well, I think the lowest is 6th. That's the absolute lowest. I think maybe sixth. Because we don't want them to regress. We don't want to go backwards. 6th is, it's actually a little bit of improvement. One place higher than they finished, although it was level on points with Alpha. I think the highest, I think 4th. Get 4th this season. It's a top 4 team. It's a Champions League thing this season, isn't it? That's what you want. Yeah.
Newcastle.
Milan, exactly. Milan probably ain't gonna get top 4. But if Aston Martin get top 4, that's more than enough, isn't it? So I think top 4 is exactly. That's what we're looking, top 4. And yeah, the way to do that is then P6s and P7s. That's what you want. P6s and P7s. Not P45s, P6s and P7s. That's what we need, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the aims. Listen, if we can nick a podium here or there, we'll take that. And listen, I'm going to be brave in it. Alonso will get 1 podium this season. He will get 1 podium this season. So I don't know where he's going to pull out from. He'll get it. That's what I'm going to say. He's going to get 1 podium this season.
Damn. Is that your prediction, yeah?
That's a prediction. We'll come back to that. Today it's February the 5th. We'll come back to that at the end of the season.
All right. Okay. Laurence, do you have any thoughts on Aston Martin into the season coming up? Like, what are maybe your expectations? Do you think they'll challenge McLaren maybe at some point, or no?
I think Alonso will. Stroll seems to have a hard time arguing with his engineer as opposed to anything else. Is that guy still working with him? Because that's what. To be fair, you see, you see these lots when they come on, when the F1 do their top 10 radios. This guy is just always arguing. It's like a marriage. Is he still working with him?
I'll check. Listen, I'll check the payroll Monday. I'll see if he's still there. I'll check.
How do you like? It just makes
I
me
mean,
laugh.
apparently he's got a promotion. I'm not.
How is that guy got a promotion? That guy is.
Yeah.
If that was my engineer, oh my god.
Mike Crack might be on cocaine, fam. I need to chat to him quickly. He can't be higher. He can't be giving that guy. He can't be giving him a promotion.
That guy sounds pain to do his job, bro. Fair play. If he's got a promotion, boy, I'm getting to my manager first thing tomorrow morning, bro. I'm there.
You know what that dynamic is? It's like, you ever had a teacher that doesn't rate you, innit? It's supposed to help you. You put your hand up in class. It's like, oh, mess gonna happen.
And he sends you straight out as soon as you turn up.
Yeah,
Come in.
That's what that dynamic is.
Straight. Yeah,
but
that's the bit. I was wondering if Alonso would have got him as engineer, because I was just thinking that is going to be. That's what I'm pinning my hopes on. But I think
we need the guy from 05, man. I think
Alonso obviously. When I'm looking at Lando and Alonso, to me I'm not going to say similar category. It's disrespectful to Alonso, but I think they're trying to do the same thing for their teams. So where I'd see Lando trying to sneak a podium here and there, if he messes up, Alonso's probably going to be the one that goes and gets it. So I think he's got to consistently try and finish ahead of Alonso. Wherever that will be good enough, I think, based on where McLaren are probably going. And obviously Aston Martin got a lot more funding. So I would just say, as long as we finish ahead of Aston Martin, it's a success, to be honest. But obviously Alonso's got a very personal thing with McLaren, so I think that alone would probably drive him. But obviously, and I think they've had a good few battles last year as well. I think Austria, I recall, being one. So,
There's quite a lot of
yeah.
Austria,
Yeah,
Silverstone, even Zandvoort.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to have good level of respect for each other. I think Alonso respects Lando's talent, vice versa. So to me, it'd probably come down to obviously the second drivers. In which case, we don't really know what Piastri is going to produce. So it's hard to say. So I'd probably actually measure him not so much against. Obviously, you measure him against his teammate, but I'd obviously look to how Stroll performs against Alonso, because I think the skill gap is probably fairly similar between Lando, Piastri, and Alonso and Stroll. Yeah, so as long as you finish ahead of them, I think it's a success for us.
Cool. Kwame, do you think there's a possibility that Alonso may butt heads with Stroll this season?
I would not be surprised. Maybe not this season, but definitely down the line in their partnership for sure. Alonso has been a guy everywhere he's gone. It's been one of his biggest faults, one of his biggest traits. Everywhere he's gone, he's kind of burned bridges. And it's not as bad as people make out to be, but it's not a good thing either. But I mean, listen, Alpine, all thought it was rosy until towards the end where he had butt heads with Ocon. McLaren obviously butt heads with Honda. Renault was the only team where it was kind of okay. And obviously McLaren before that, butt heads, Hamilton's got. Everywhere this guy goes, it turns into carnage, man, at the end. And Quality's such a passionate guy. He's a guy who wants the team to do well. David comes across the wrong way. And Stroll being a very rash driver is a good way to put it. Stroll, just kind of calamity, chaos. Problem crash merchant, but we don't say much about him because he doesn't do well in the races. Mr. doesn't check his mirrors. It can definitely come across the wrong way. You have to remember as well, his dad owns the team as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some decisions that Stroll gets or some treatment that Stroll gets that previously that Alonso won't get. Listen, you have Stroll's dad. The whole reason he brought Aston Martin in the end was because he had beef with the Frank Williams McLaren at the time. He wanted to put more control, more stake, and more in the team. Didn't get that. He bought Racing Point. So should I say bought Force India at the time. So it wouldn't surprise me if down the line there's some sort of issue between the two. Maybe not this season, but next season for sure.
I think that's something I was thinking of. So if you look at where Alonso's been as well with every team, he ends up falling out with the engine supplier. So if you look at, he's had issues with Mercedes in the past, with McLaren. He had issues obviously with Renault, and again, obviously last year. So obviously the Mercedes engine, while it was reliable last year, but Aston Martin had a few DNFs as well. So I'm wondering if that Mercedes engine isn't particularly great, given he's got a 2+1 contract, and you've got Honda who are hanging around. They haven't got a team for 2026, but I'm aware that they're actually still hanging around. What might happen with Aston Martin? I wonder if, because Aston Martin obviously effectively are tied to Mercedes, they can't really go and get another supplier because they are owned by Mercedes. So I wonder if that starts to go a bit iffy, if the engine isn't as strong as obviously the Honda currently, what will he actually see out his contract? Because Alonso starts quick. As soon as that engine don't perform, he's on the blower. So that would be my one worry, probably my one hope, obviously, as a McLaren fan. But then obviously they share the same engine, so obviously if it doesn't benefit for Aston Martin, it's not going to benefit us either. But Lando obviously won't call it out in comparison. So that would be my concern for Aston Martin. I think 2 to 3 years if they're trying to progress, obviously.
I mean, yeah, because with the new factory coming along, and Aston Martin have got aspirations, of course, challenge for titles and stuff like that. Of course, it doesn't, apart from maybe Red Bull, you can't really have aspirations of being the top dog if you're a customer team, basically. To be honest, because Mercedes, just to spy engines, because they get X amount of money back and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They're not really there to help Aston Martin in the sense of, oh, we're gonna help you achieve your dreams and aspirations. Like, look at Man City and Arsenal. Like, who the fuck selling Zinchenko and Gabby
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
would turn into this?
They
Like,
want them back.
you know what I
They want
mean?
them-
It's
they-
like,
they want them back.
yeah, imagine if Toto gave away, because obviously some personnel has already left from Mercedes to Aston Martin anyway, and the same with Red Bull to Aston Martin. If he gives away the wrong person, well, not gives away, sorry, but if the wrong personnel, it's kind of double negative here. So if the right personnel at Mercedes leave to go to Aston Martin, and they're the key decisive figures to help Aston Martin challenge for top honors, if you will. And then Toto's still in charge of Mercedes, and they're like doing what they did last year. Then everyone's going to be looking at Toto crazy, like, rah, you got rid of my man, and my man. And now look at Aston Martin, but we're supplying engines to them. So what the fuck's going on? So it's like, it's a sticky one because it's funny because Honda, yeah, they've signed up for the engine regulations 2026.
Yeah.
But they're still sort of like doing peekaboo with Red Bull and shit like that at the moment. So it would be interesting if Aston Martin can maybe get Honda on like an exclusivity sort of thing for 2026 onwards. I think that would be quite good, to be fair, because you've got to think about it. As at the moment in time, there's going to be 6 engines to come 2026 and 10 different teams, maybe more. So you're talking about each engine is only going to go to like maybe 2 teams max, maybe 3. So you kind of want like that partnership with a end supplier. You kind of need to leave Merck eventually. They can't be with them forever.
Yeah, they can't.
But I don't see how, because obviously if you go just slightly out of F1, but Aston Martin is literally owned by a Mercedes. So Aston Martin literally exists to supply Mercedes. So if you think of obviously, Honda, you could have Honda come in as obviously engine supplier, but the amount of money that they would have to pay to probably break away from Mercedes they have the money clearly, but
I think
they're in a sticky situation. They're in a sticky situation. Obviously, if you look at like Williams may have Porsche, so they may end up getting out of Mercedes, but they've got an easier way out. They're not linked to Mercedes outside of that engine, whereas Aston Martin are by brand, by engine, by staff. So I do worry if that Mercedes, they want to get to that point, they may, I don't know. I can't even imagine how they would stick with Aston Martin brand and still stay. With getting Honda in, for example.
I think the only similar situation now where it's not exactly the same. It's obviously you only had Mercedes and McLaren. When at that time, that's the only time where I've seen where you've had like the works team actually being worse than the supply team, and they're like that's the only time I've ever seen it. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic. But surely they must have had this conversation internally before all this has happened. Like, surely there must be some people common sense in there saying, "Yo, I know like you supply engines in it, but we're actually trying to beat you in it in the long run. Like, is that cool? Somebody should have given the okay in it."
I mean, hey, listen, it can happen. Look at us, man. Look at Team Anston. We've had the period when we were Lotus, we had Mercedes engines. Believe 2014. The season before we got bought by by Renault. We had Mercedes engines. Heck, even though the period as well when Red Bull were cooking 09 to 13. Renault was still about. Renault Lotus is still about. We were technically the works team, but Red Bull were the faster team. So I know one F1 ain't gonna happen, but it can happen because we've been the team must have prolific. These men have been goals the time. Heck, Burton days as well. These men were dry ass when it can happen. But I do get Laurence's point in the fact that the road engines for Aston Martin, are supplied by Mercedes. Mercedes have got a share in Aston Martin. From what I'm only surprised if Laurence has got some sort of clause in where it's a bit separate. He can do his kind of own thing, break away from the Aston Martin main company, do his own thing, whatever. But I get your point about the whole breakaway from Mercedes. Who knows? Anything can happen in F1. Anything can happen in F1 when it comes to engines. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future with that.
Yeah, most definitely. have to watch the space on that one for sure. But yeah, okay. So let's move on to the last team, and that is Alpine. So of course, Alpine managed to beat McLaren in the constructors last year to fourth place. Of course, through Alonso and Ocon. But they had towards the end of the tenure had a bit of a tumultuous relationship, if you will. Alonso saying, "Oh, I'm glad it's all over," sort of thing, blah blah blah. Of course, Ocon did actually beat Alonso in the championship standings, and that's the first time he's been beat since I think maybe like Yarno Trulli days or something like that. I can't recall. So it's been quite a while. So now they've got the French Revolution in charge in Gasly and Ocon. This is a highly anticipated lineup because for those who don't know the backstory, the only reason Gasly is even racing is actually technically because of Ocon, and that's because they were boys back in the day. Well, yeah, they were boys back in the day. Not really so much now. They kind of mask it like the boys now, but I know it's cap. You know when like your Bloods and Crips trying to do the civil thing, and it's like, nah, you're just doing it for PR, innit?
Bro. Not like that.
Yeah, just you know what I mean. It's like we know you still don't like each other. Like, don't stop the cap in it, but whatever. PR, blah blah blah. Cool.
It's like two bres going for the same gal in it. You're friends on the top level, but deep down you're cussing them in the background. I hear it.
Yeah, it's like you and Kwame in tape or something going off the same gal. Yeah, I get it still. Yeah. I know them ones.
This guy, fam. Hey, yo.
Okay, yeah. So basically, for those who don't know the backstory, Ocon lent Gasly. So Gasly actually wants to be a footballer, hence why he has the number 10 number on his car. Big PSG fan, thought himself as like a cam, basically number 10 in football. And then Ocon lent Gasly his car one time. Gasly fell in love with the car and blah blah blah. And then when Ocon was bloody living in caravans and shit like that, just to go from race to race, Gasly was, he was doing the same thing. I don't think he was doing the caravan thing, but I think he may have a bit more pay. But he was doing his thing, make his way up, blah blah blah. Yeah. So of course, I think from the young categories they had a bit of beef. It's conflicting reports from both sides how the beef started, but supposedly they've made up now. So these are both drivers who, how to say, split opinion a lot. So Ocon, I feel, is like almost like the acid test on how you rate F1 drivers. Really, he's sort of like the metric of like if you sort of, it's hard to explain. I know Kwame can help me out here. It's hard to explain, but it's like Ocon. But a few people rate Ocon quite highly and think he's underrated, and a few other people think he's meaty, he's not all that, blah blah blah. I think he's all right. He's steady.
I said before. I get what I mean. I said before. I think it's to my head of Chris. I feel like Ocon's like the litmus test of F1 drivers. Like he's like the borderline. Like if you're below Ocon, you are dead in the sport. If you're around the same level Ocon, you're a decent number 2 midfield driver. If you're above Ocon, your levels. If you see who's Ocon's being with in teammates, Alonso, Perez, Verline, even Man Days. All these man you can kind of see, Stroll as well. How can I get Stroll? All these man you can kind of see, where Ocon has been. And Ocon's the type of driver where he's not the most fastest driver, but he's very consistent. And he's always that driver who does his job. Whereas compared to Gasly, they're like yin and yang. Like compared to Gasly, he's at the other side of the field where Gasly is very, very explosive, very fast. But he has been very inconsistent in his days in F1. Compare his days in Red Bull, where it didn't work out for him. But then Taurus has been cooking. So he's kind of now looking to solidify place in F1. That's for Ocon has got his place kind of solidified. Because if you look at Ocon, who he's gone against, Alonso, he was on paper with Alonso. I feel like Alonso was better last year. I'm not gonna lie. Even though the point suggest Ocon had better, I feel like Alonso did better than Ocon. Just he had issues with reliability in his ends. Again, Perez, very close to Perez, but I feel like Perez is a better driver in the time of 14 personally. But again, he was very head to toe, especially when he was young, beat Verline and Pax Stroll as well. So, hey, that's Ocon's kind of litmus paper, whatever. And then Gasly, he's kind of had the easy avatar, in my opinion, I can't lie. And now he's kind of making a big step up for the marquee French team. So it'll be interesting to see where it'll be next year. This team as well is a team full of politics. So it'll be interesting to see how that pays up as well, man, because the whole reason Ocon is in Alpine, I'll be honest, is club politics, bro. I feel like we should have kept Alonso and you should have gone to Piastri instead. But we did the different contract for Ocon. Because again, the French driver, French team. So which I don't hate Ocon, I feel like Ocon's a good driver, but in hindsight, yeah. I'm not sure we should have done it, but listen, I feel like we've gone for a young base in the team. These drivers are all in their mid-20s. These drivers have both got race wins. We know these drivers can both cook. We know it's going to be very intense. And listen, if you want fun for F1 this season, back Alpine, man. Back the boys in blue. Because it's going to be a roller coaster, man. I wouldn't be surprised if these drivers crash each other out in Canada. I wouldn't be surprised. But, hey, we can get an odd podium here and there. You've seen it before in previous seasons. That P3 is looking, if Mercedes drop out, if Ferrari have those moments, if Red Bull's engines go compute, we will be there feasting. We'll be there finishing that. So the engines is a big thing as well when you talk about it as well. Because last year really truly was a year where, from what I understood, was a very high risk, high reward year in the sense that the engineers and airliners didn't trust the team, so they just thought, screw it. These engines are just gonna turn up as high as you can. And if you win, you win. Not even if you win. If you do well, you do well. If you do bad, you do bad. And it turns out we actually did very well. We did very, very well. But the issue is the engines kept blowing up. So this season, what I'm expecting has to be, stable. Reliability has to be on job. There can't be no. I'm looking more at the engines, how they perform, and if they're more stable. Like, I wouldn't mind if it's P3 every now and then with retirements. I wouldn't want that. I'd rather just have the P6 every races. That's what I want in it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But hey, listen, I'm here for the ride, man. It's gonna be a fun year, man. I'm not expecting no good year for us, man. I just want fun.
Cool. So, Kwame, day-long monologue on your Alpine boys, your baguette boys.
I don't look good, man. All day long, man. Come on.
Man said French till I die and all that. I hear that still. But okay. So between Gasly and Ocon, who do you think is going to get the better few over the season?
People keep asking this question, man. He's better, man.
Hey, man.
Man. Let's enjoy both, man. Let's enjoy both.
No. You got to give me an answer, bro. We ain't doing that. Ain't sitting on no fence, bro. Get them splinters out your ass, brother. Just give me an answer now, bro.
Hey, if you look at my tweets, man, you know who I think. I'll go PS.
Me looking at your tweets, brother.
I'll go PS. I'll go Gasly. I'll go Gasly in it. It'll be close, but I prefer that type of driver in it. Like me, I prefer that exciting racing season. I prefer that driver in it.
Make sure that's clipped.
Brother, I've been saying Gasly. I've been saying Gasly in it. But listen, I wait both drivers though, man. I wait Ocon, wait Gasly, but I'm gonna go for Gasly, man.
What's your reasons why, brother?
I think I've said it before. I prefer Gasly as a driver, and I prefer that that warness he's got compared to Ocon's kind of like mature game. I just prefer that speed in my driving personally. I feel like it'd be very similar to how Force Indy was with Perez versus Hulkenberg. In the sense that he had Perez who was much more consistent, but when it came to strategy to his tires, when it came to races where he can get out of the bag, he did him. I feel like Gasly have another season on that. I feel like it would take him a while to get up to speed though, to be fair with you. But I feel like towards the end of the season he did as well. I feel like Ocon always starts well though, to be fair with you though. Like even last year with Alpine, he started much more better than Alonso, but Alonso was coming towards the end of the season. So it'd be close. Ocon does very well against his teammates, but I'll give it to Gasly still.
Cool. So, in terms of the constructors, where do you think they can realistically finish? I think
the highest we can finish is P4. I feel like that gap P4 between Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes is another road from where we are. So and we came P4 last year. So basically we should be P4. And lowest, being shameless, I'll say P4, but realistically I'll probably say P6 because Aston Martin ended very well last year. They've got a lot of guys for Red Bull, Mercedes. They've got the money kicking in. We know how Alonso can cook. And McLaren, if Piastri is good as he has been in his Formula 2, Formula 3 days, if he's been as good as he was, they will cook as well. So it'll be a competitive midfield as always. But I say we should be P4. We should be P4. And anything less than P6 is a big failure in my eyes.
Cool. Rafa, do you have any thoughts on Alpine and the upcoming, French Civil War that's going to ensue?
Oh, a lot of thoughts. Look, you saw last year, Laurence and Ocon, things got a bit fractious towards the end. I just see this end up in the car crash. I just see it coming. Like, who was it? What team
quite literally as well.
Yeah, literally. It's going to be like, Hamilton and Rosberg 2016 when they crashed in Spain. Like, Zappanar's got to be like, yo, you man can't race at all. Like, we literally have to going to control your races. That's what I believe is going to happen. Because I think Ocon is a feisty guy anyway, and I think Gasly against him, that's just going to rile him up even more. I just don't see that working at all. I can't see in my head them two being cordial at all. And I think like the atmosphere is going to be terrible between the both. I even think like your management is so bad as well. Like,
hey, it's a mess, bro. It's a mess. It's a mess. We know
Laurent Rossi is the biggest wasio I've seen, bro. He's a wasio.
Speak on it.
He's a wasio. Like, you've got the Trinity, Laurent Rossi, Pierre Gasly, even Zappanau. You know what? Even Zappanau, I'll throw him in there too. Zappanau.
I vote on mine there, man. Because I don't hate him either. Vote on mine there, man.
Hey, you've got four. I told you, you've got the 4 horsemen of destruction right there. Them man are going to be beefing with each other for the whole season of it. So good luck in it. So just good luck. That's what I'm gonna say. Good luck, because boy, it's gonna be explosive there. I'm be watching you, man, for laughs.
And it's like I said, if you love car crashes, if you're one of the people who watches F1 DTS Drive to Survive, and you love mayhem and chaos, this is the team to watch and enjoy. Us and Haas, it's gonna be fun.
DTS next year is gonna be them 4 as main characters. Like the end credit scene. You're just gonna see myself and our Pierre Gasly, Ocon, and Laurent Rossi. Them 4. Bro, we need a whole separate like TV show about just them in it. So I'm gonna be watching on it, but yeah, I can't see that working. There's just too many volatile characters in that for it to work. So yeah, hold tight, Alpine, hold tight.
Yeah, definitely. Laurence, do you have any thoughts on Alpine for the upcoming season?
I think the only thing to add, I think obviously Ocon's going to want to put a marker down quite quickly. Obviously, you've got the history, but it's another teammate coming in. He obviously must feel like it's his team because he's probably been told that, to be honest. As Kwame pointed out, the politics kind of have kept him in the role. And also, to be fair, this guy was just turning up in P5 last year, every other race, and no one seemed to know how. No one can tell you how he got there, but he was there. And Gasly starts to cry quite quickly. As soon as something goes wrong, the man's crying. The man's blaming his brakes. He's blaming his engineer. He's blaming the car. And I don't think there's time for that at Alpine. But to be honest, I think they'll have the quickest car out of the 3 of the teams, obviously, we're chatting about. I think they'll have the quickest car, probably by some distance as well, actually. But if you put McLaren or Aston Martin drivers in that car, this wouldn't be a conversation. But I think it is because there's 2 bozos in that car that are going to be more interested about fighting each other. So I think that, to be honest, that's where we can obviously sneak in. It's going to be chaos, honestly. The first race, oh my goodness, I can't wait.
Laurence,
I'm ready.
Hey, Laurence,
I'll be there no matter what.
I
Yeah,
love it.
bro.
Everyone love.
Hey, Laurence, Laurence, I can hear Crofty right now. Bahrain. Lights out and away we go. And it's Gasly and Ocon down into turn
Yeah.
one. They've cracked. Oh, I can't
Bro,
wait.
he's got his raps made, bro. Already,
Yeah.
he's got the raps already in that book, ready to go.
And then Martin Brundle jumps on the thing like, yeah, that's very stupid from Ocon there. Yeah, should have left him a bit. I can't wait. I can see it in my mind's eye right now, so I can't wait. Grab your popcorn for Alpine, fam. Them man are just putting up.
Yes.
There.
So I'm saying, man, get the food ready, man. It's gonna be a lovely year, man, of just mayhem.
It's gonna be a lovely year for us.
I'm not pretending like these men are gonna be doing well. I'm not pretending. I'm here for the ride because,
bro, you know what is
this?
this?
I need something like this, man. Everyone's been too
too
happy
nice,
and
too
jolly.
nice.
No, I want chaos, man. That guy that said I want chaos, man. I know I'm hating, but I want chaos, and this team will bring.
Yes, bring the violence.
Toxic.
I want men that don't like each other. Now come out and just say it with their chest, and none of this. Oh no, I'll defend for you. Defend like a lion, bruv. No.
Them days are over, bro. You had it, Kwame, innit? You had it.
Yeah.
You had it. Now, hey, them team radio snippets on the end of, Alpine's one are gonna be crazy. Hey, they might even drop them in French. That's how volatile it might get, bro.
They'll be swearing and it sounding amazing.
Yeah, bro.
The head out of each
so
other,
swearing fluently. It's gonna be great. Great.
Kwame's Duolingo popping off, boy.
Yeah.
Hey, man, shout out Chris, man.
That Duolingo will be popping off. Shit.
Hey, man. French chat is gonna be far off the race, honestly, man.
Yeah, I've been telling Chris to translate every 5 minutes, bro. No, he's tapped into French Twitter.
Yeah. Them updates, can't wait for.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So last but not least is from everyone. I want basically the 3 teams that we've spoken about. Just an order of where you think they'll finish. Well, who will finish the highest out of the 3, basically. So it'll be a case of like Alpine, McLaren, Aston Martin, or Aston Martin, McLaren, that sort of thing. So, Kwame, who's your order, if you will, for the 3 teams, Aston Martin, McLaren, and Alpine?
So P4, I'm not even shamelessly, to be honest with you. I'm actually going to go with Alpine. I feel like we out of these lot, I think we've got the fastest car. We had so last year. These guys have been saying that. The issue with these Renault lot, though, is every year they've been saying next year's our year, man. These men are like the Tottenham of F1. I get sick and tired of it, but it's just funny. These man saying, 2022, we didn't put a lot of effort in. It was just, crash course year, put energy to 2023, where we're going to sort out the reliability of the engine. And the aerodynamics of the cars can't, to be honest with you. Strategy was very hit and miss. Somehow Ocon always bust case, but Alonso, you look at him, was, very up and down. He suffered the bronze essentially of the reliability. But, I'm going to put us P4. Heck, Ocon and Gasly will cause chaos, but I think we'll have enough to scrape here. P5, I'm going to go McLaren. I think, again, McLaren, they're kind of the opposite to us in the sense they were very reliable last year, but the pace wasn't as good as I think it was. I feel like Norris dragged the car a lot. I feel like Norris dragged the car higher than it should have been a lot of time last year, which I think shows how good he is and his potential. Danny Rick, let's not talk about Danny Rick. I'm actually surprised we haven't talked about Danny Rick like this pod, because that guy last year, him and Latifi, man, probably Stingfest. So Piastri should drag them higher this year, and I feel like they'll be better than last year, but I don't think the pace will be as much as ours. And then PG's going to go with Aston Martin. Not because I feel like Aston Martin are not a bad team, but just the gap they have to do to catch up with Alpine and McLaren. I think they'll be there. I think it'll be a 3-horse race for the midfield. But yeah, Stroll, my eyes on you, and that's all I'm saying.
Cool. Rafa, who will finish highest in out of the lot then, out of the 3? What's your order, sorry.
I'm gonna go Alpine P4. As much as there's chaos, I think just like last year, they'll get there in the end. Close though. I think it'll be close margins. I'm gonna say Aston Martin P5. I think I think pace-wise, we weren't too far. Race pace-wise, weren't too far from McLaren's for the end of the year. And I just think with the guys we're bringing in from Red Bull, some guy. I don't know if we brought some guys from Mercedes. But I think
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
I think this. I think this is Dan Pello's first design input in the car as well. Last year they started off with the wrong concept. They actually had two concepts they wanted to go with, and quite evidently they picked the wrong one. And so I think we start off on the right foot this year. So those points we missed out on the first half of the season, we get in the first half of the season. We're going to be more consistent. And I'm going to go with McLaren just because I just think, as much as I like Piastri, I think he can be a good driver. He's got talent. I just think he might just be a little bit behind the eight ball first year and stuff like that. It's going to be, and the McLaren's not an easy car to drive. It's probably like one of the hardest cars to drive on the whole grid in terms of just drivability. So it's gonna be a handful for the kid, isn't it? So yeah, I think Lando will do his thing. I think Lando will be arguing with the top guys for P6, P7 because that's what he does. But yeah, I'm gonna put McLaren P6. Yeah. So but I think it's gonna be tight. I think the margins are gonna be up in there. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Okay. Laurence? You're on mute, bro.
Sorry. As we've been talking, I've kind of flipped and flopped. First, I put McLaren fourth because if you look at last year, if they had a competent driver, obviously in the second seat, they would have got fourth place. They would. So if I look at that, that's what I would have hoped. But I think Piastri taking a while to get up to speed will probably leave McLaren a bit short. So I would say Alpine fourth. They'll do their best to F it up. Then I would say McLaren fifth, because Lando's strong enough to carry. He carried them to fifth last year, so he can carry a team to fifth on his own. And then Aston Martin sixth, just because I think they'll probably make a similar mistake in terms of the direction of their car, because they're trying to do too many things at once. I think too quick. So I think it depends on really. I think the kind of where the teams will finish depends on Piastri. How quickly does this guy get up to speed? If he's bang on it like Lando was a few years ago, then I think we'll get fourth quite comfortably in the end.
Cool. Yeah, satisfied with that. Right, cool. Okay, so thanks everyone tuning in. If you've got this far, please remember to, of course, do the usual on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Make sure to follow and give us a 5-star review on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on the show socials on the Pitstop Fracas on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. If you want to see Kwame doing the stair, bunch of some sorts of dance moves anyway. But yeah, that's. But yeah, that's all for today. Make sure you tune in next week for our final parts season preview series, if you will, of Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull. But till next time, peace.
Safe.